My name's Ryan Berns. I'm the founder of the Lacrosse Leadership Institute. It's our mission to empower all those that love lacrosse, to recognize the skills that you gain from the sport and ultimately live the life that you want to live. So grateful for our guest today. Michael has spent his time and career building the foundational skills from lacrosse, and now he's doing a great job of giving back to his communities. He's going to take some time to explain how he got into lacrosse and some of those pinnacle moments. And Michael, if you can start sharing with us, we really appreciate you, and we're so excited to learn your story.
Ryan, first, thanks for the introduction, and thanks for doing this. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to get on and talk lacrosse and leadership and helping others. So I appreciate you doing this. I love the mission of the Lacrosse Leadership Institute. So all good stuff there. I'll start at the beginning for lacrosse for me. I picked up a stick in third grade. My dad's cousins were actually 2 out of 3 of them are in the Hall of Fame, the Marino brothers, Tommy, Billy, and Roddy. And they put a stick in my hand, but then shortly after, me and my brother put him back down because my brother wanted to play baseball. And as a younger brother does, you follow what the older brother does. So went back to baseball for, a few too many years. And then through an injury, hurt my arm. Baseball wasn't really an option anymore. And I switched back to lacrosse. And I had my best friend, thankfully, was one of the best players in the area. He was someone I could have catch with regularly, Ryan Madigan. His dad ran the rec league, Mark Madigan. I always give him a shout out. And every time I see him, I let him know he changed my life. And he just said, hey, when we get into high school, we're going to need some defenders and you should pick it up. And that was kind of the beginning. My first year was 8th grade. I played on the C team for Eastern Loudoun, and it was a great little experience. And I'd say my love for the game started there. And also kind of pivotal, some guys to give them a shout out. They were also really good friends with the Maltz brothers, Derek and Dylan at the age. And, Derek went on to Syracuse and Dylan did great things in Maryland. And one of my first times really getting into lacrosse, they gave me a deep hole and they basically were like, all right, go out and just cover us. And to go against them, and then the Madigan brothers, who were the other 2 best players in the area, and they just, torched me all day. And I always think back as a funny moment, kind of first getting into lacrosse. But, playing mini lax with those guys early on and just developing a love for the game was definitely there. Played through high school, had a plethora of good coaches and good mentors and people around me. One of them, just reflecting for this podcast, was Gary Malm. And he was an assistant coach for 1 year for my high school team, Broad Run in Ashburn, Virginia. And he was also on that Cornell team in the 70s that won, I think, 43 games in a row. And he took me to a handful of lunches and breakfasts and just talked with me about lacrosse and life and the potential that he saw in me. And that was also a big influence. But a lot of other coaches there, and I'm not going to, go through the whole list right now, but I do want to shout out a few people. So Gary Malm was an important influence for me. I found my way to Christopher Newport University, which is D3 school, competes in the CAC right now. And that was one of the best experiences of my life. I redshirted my freshman year. I was there for 5 years and had a wonderful career, made great relationships. And the direction the program's going in now is great to see. So that pretty much sums up my playing career. And then, at some point while I was at Christopher Newport, I knew I wanted to get right into coaching. And I ran a club team with a buddy of mine for a few years, which was an awesome experience. Was always doing the private training. And then when COVID hit, I started my own business, and really now it's just focused on skill development, mentorship, trying to do the full picture there.
Cool, Michael. The journey of lacrosse is different from group to group and person to person, but something that I see is pretty consistent is that brotherhood. You have a friend, you have a family member that showed you lacrosse, gave you that first stick, and then from there, it's lights out. You keep playing, there's love, and you have that community impact wherever you are, from high school to college. You always have those buddies that you have, and here now that you're able to provide that mentorship that was provided to you, it is absolutely wonderful. And I think it's what the sport needs and what we need as a society is more strong leaders sharing positive messages. You shared a little bit about your playing career and a little bit about what you're up to now. But one of the things I always like to ask is, what would you say is your pinnacle lacrosse moment, or 1 or 2 of them that you have?
So I think one of them as a player, when we were at CNU, and I mean, we were unranked, bottom of the barrel. But we had a group of guys that went there to change that. And our mission, we wanted to win a national championship. And I know the program still takes that vision very seriously. And my sophomore year, we beat Salisbury in a regular season game when they were number 2 in the nation. And they came in, and I mean, you know, an intimidating crew for sure, but we believed and we visualized that for such a long time. And beating them 8-7 overtime game, it was really it gave me clarity that, you know, if you're consistent with having a vision and working towards it and building the relationships with your teammates and you work towards it. And then we got that moment, and that was kind of like, wow, this really works. You know, if you're consistent in your approach, you work hard, you do the right things, you can achieve something. So that was a pinnacle moment. It was also a really cool moment that got us, you know, national recognition. I think it got us ranked for the first time. So I think as a player, that was pretty pinnacle there. There's a couple others of players, but the one, you know, it started when I was a freshman. I had short hair like now. And I said to my roommates at the time, my freshman year was a bit of a mess. I got hurt. And I said, you know, I'm not going to cut my hair until CNU wins a championship or until I win a championship as a coach. So I committed to that, and I ended up growing my hair for 7 years. So, you know, we didn't win a championship while I was at CNU. We pushed every year. We got better and better. And you know, they'll be holding a national championship trophy soon enough. But when I got out of school, the first high school I got my job with was now St. Paul VI Catholic High School, which is a top program in the nation. And they had never won a championship either. So when I got there in the off season and I'm getting to know the kids and I'm running the off season training, you know, I told them about why I have long hair and that I got to win a championship. And it seemed that that was a worthy goal for them as well. So if I won a championship with PVI, they can cut my hair, was the promise that I made them. And that first year, you know, that was a big mantra. Guys were talking about it. We didn't end up winning a championship the first year. So another year 7 with the hair, grow it out. But that spring, May 2018, we won the first, for our program, first VISA championship for the state title of independent schools. And I let the guys cut my hair at the banquet. And again, it was one of those moments, it gave me clarity about, okay, you know, stick to your goals, you know, preaching the right things, living the right way, and you accomplish something. And then, of course, you know, anyone that wins a championship feels great, but then you want to get back to the next day. But it was a pivotal moment to go, it worked. This process, the things I'm doing are working. Let's dive back into it. So I look back on that as a pinnacle moment. And then lastly, and I know this may sound a little cliche, but something that I've been trying to do for a long time is to be intensely present. And, you know, if you can treat every day as the pinnacle, you're gonna get to a really good spot, right? And every high performance coach or person that achieves a level of success knows that being present is probably the most important thing. So for me, you know, if I can treat the process as the pinnacle, and each day, each kid I work with, whatever private lesson, small group, this podcast, my first podcast doing this with you, if I can treat this as the pinnacle, I think I'm going in the right direction. So I really do try to live that and preach that to my players, you know, that each moment, you know, and every coach does, right? It's the process. So I would say the process is the pinnacle.
Michael, I absolutely love that. And you said something that's similar to Brian Hernandez that we had on, I guess, a few months ago, but he's out in Downey or Los Angeles, California. And he said one of the most pivotal things, one of his coaches said is, be where your feet are. And it's that intense presentness that is so important, because there's so many things that happen around us, but we can only control what we can control. So focus where you are, keep your mind straight, keep it focused for that goal, whatever that is. And I'd love for you to share a little bit more about what that process looks like that you said actually works and how you visualize to get that success.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I think it really does start on a physical level where you said, be where your feet are. And, you know, looking around, taking notes on where you are in your life and your platform, and becoming really, really clear about where you are. And then it is, what is that you want? And it really just comes back to clarity, right? And I'm a big, you know, like success leaves clues, and success leaves massive clues, right? If you study anybody that has reached a level of success, whether it be personal or in the world of athletics, you know, they're going to tell you so many things if you just listen to it, right? And so I guess for me, it's a practice, right? And you catch yourself, right? Just like meditation, if you catch yourself wandering off, right, you got to come back. And as a coach, you know, it still happens to me where, you get an urge to check your phone or get distracted maybe, and then you got to come right back and what can you do? So it's definitely a process, but it really starts with clarity, what you want, where are you, and then a commitment to staying in that present moment. And the sweet spot, man, when you get it, you're in a flow and it's a beautiful thing. And I think if you can try to build your habits and your life around staying in that sweet spot, staying in the present moment, you're going to have a great level of fulfillment. But I would say it's elusive, right? It's simple, but it's elusive. So it's something you got to work towards. But I mean, as simple as be where your feet are, right? My feet, if I'm at practice, are not dealing with any other issues that aren't in that, field and in that training environment. So to bring yourself back, what's real right now? What can I control? And then you do it over and over and over, just like a muscle, and it'll get stronger.
I think that's so true. It's like playing lacrosse. If you're working on your right hand or your left hand, you just have to do it over and over and over again. And eventually you're able to catch and throw, you're able to throw some BTBs around the world. It just takes time. And leadership, professionalism, accountability, integrity, they all take time, and we're not going to be perfect right away. But the fact that we feel like we're not perfect, that shows that we expect something more and we want more. And I think that's pretty critical. And right now, Michael, I'm not sure if I lost you or not, just because I see you frozen here. So
frozen action on my end.
Okay, now I'm starting to hear you, Michael.
There we go. Hey,
which is good.
You're back. Sorry,
I was saying the same thing. It felt like you were frozen. But one of the things that I love you were saying is just it's a muscle. You get better slowly but surely over time. And I think that's something we could focus on. And I'd love to hear what leadership means to you and how you can become a better leader as well.
So leadership means a lot to me, because to me, leadership is one person having a positive impact on another person or a small group of people or a community, an environment. So it means a lot. I think we lack awareness of how great of an opportunity we have every day to be leaders. But it really stems back to having a positive impact on others, right? And leadership theory and leadership development, you can study it, right? There's people who are experts in this stuff, and there's so many angles to look at it and break it down. But for me, it really comes back to, am I empowering? Am I helping? Am I creating a positive impact on the environment around me, the people I'm going to work with? And these opportunities are all around us. They're every day, right? So if you want to be a leader of kindness in your community, well, everybody you walk by, you can give them a, hey, how you doing? And you can be authentic about it. So I think it really means a lot. And it means a lot that you're doing this, because I think this Lacrosse Leadership Institute is going to grow. And, guys get to the end of their career and they go, guys, they give their last speech and they're like, guys, it's all about the relationships. Like, oh my God. Like, well, let's be aware of that now. Right? I learned these skills. Okay, well, can we put an emphasis on these relationships and skills while you're a player? As a coach, can I give that to my players now? And not just say it, but make it tangible, right? Well, what can we do to work at it? The best coaches do this, right? These things have been done before. And I think you're just trying to put more of an emphasis on it. And we're all doing our part to make it grow. So I'm excited for that. So leadership, I would say it's having a positive impact on one person or a group of people. And it's an opportunity, it's a process, it's an action, and it's kind of available to us at all times.
I couldn't have said it better, Michael. And one of the things that I would love to hear you elaborate a little bit more on is you talked about great coaches being able to take leaderships or the skills that you're gaining from lacrosse and making it tangible. And I know you have a great group of young men that you're helping to make tangible changes in their lives so they can be successful. Can you share a little bit about that with our community so we know what you're up to?
Absolutely. So for the past years when I train kids, I've always liked to think of myself as a mentor and someone that teaches them more than just the game. But, as you get better at leadership, I realized I could have a bigger impact if I got more organized and put something more tangible together for kids. So right now I have 3 different groups. 2 of them are 8th graders, offensive group, defensive group, about 10, 12 kids in each. And then I have a group of 7th graders that are kind of like a team. And, I have them in a group chat. We do our weekly on the field session, and I've given them material for mindset, nutrition, film review, and keeping them accountable through this group chat. And we talk about habit forming and all these things. So for me, I think it's about action, right? Because coaches, and I mean, I could talk about it with kids, but if I don't give them the opportunity to take action and grow through the movement, right, and groove that repetition, it really doesn't mean much. Just like if you read a leadership book and you don't practice it, there's nothing that's going to come from that. So I think as coaches, we like to talk about leadership. How can we empower the kids to do it more on their own? I would say that's really what it stems. It's repetition, right? I mean, I'm more comfortable talking in front of larger groups than I was years ago because I've just done it over and over. And you can think of any example for that, right? So coaches, to help develop leaders, we have to give them the opportunity and then give them feedback, and you go through the feedback loop, and then you practice it again. But I think it stems from the opportunity.
And speaking of the 7th and 8th graders that you're mentoring right now, what's the single most important thing that those young men can do, or any young man or woman that's hoping to play lacrosse at the next level? What's the single most important thing that they can do?
So I would say it really stems with clarity and awareness, right? Which comes from being present, no matter where you are. If I'm trying to get better at something, if I'm studying a video, I got to be present, right? Like how easy it is to read a book and get distracted. So it really stems from clarity, awareness, presence, what mindfulness really does teach. One of the exercises I did with these kids, and it's an ongoing thing, I challenged them to become experts on what it takes to be great. And I said, you guys, there's no reason as a group of 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds, you can't become the world leading 13-year-old expert on greatness. There's just no reason, right? Now, there's people who are in this field of high performance and mindset, and you're not going to be an expert on their level right now, but you could be the 13-year-old expert. So I challenged them to become an expert on greatness. And really, I sent them different videos, different speeches, there's so much great content out there. And keep your eyes and ears open and take notes on what it takes to be great. And you will find a consistent pattern of behaviors and habits and mindsets. Write it down, and then choose which behaviors and actions are you willing to start implementing, and do it frequently, right? And just start chopping away at it. So, with those kids, and they're all great kids, I just tell them, listen, you're in a good spot. Let's get really clear. What do you think is going to help you? And obviously the nutrition side of things, right? Well, every great coach ever tells these kids to eat breakfast, right? Let's just start chipping away, all of these things. So I'd say the awareness, the clarity, and just being present is probably number one, or one, two, and three.
That is so awesome. I love the idea that you can tell a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old, it doesn't matter what your age, you can be the expert, and you can take that on, and that can be what your identity is. And it's a standard that you're setting for yourself. And by setting strong standards and integrity, that's where you ultimately get the goals. And I think, like you said, success leaves clues. Anyone who's uber successful has the daily rituals, the standards that they set for themselves that allows them to be successful. And speaking of successful, I'd love to make sure you share a little bit more about, and excuse me as I look away, I just want to make sure I say it right. It's the sources of strength. Is that part of this daily routine, or can you share a little bit about that?
I would love to. So 3 years ago, we had a mother of a kid that was in our club, who was involved with what's called the Ryan Bartell Foundation, out of Leesburg, Virginia. And they run a program called Sources of Strength, which is a national program. And Sources of Strength is an evidence-based youth suicide prevention program. And it's really a mental wellness program. It is an unbelievable organization. And what these trainings look like and what we teach young people and adults is, to me, it's magic. Okay. So they came in, we got our staff trained, and immediately, it was like, this is great stuff. We got our kids trained. That's how I got introduced. I took a liking to it. The Ryan Bartell Foundation paid for me to get trained as a Sources of Strength trainer. So evidence-based youth suicide prevention program. But what I mean when it's a health and wellness program is you look at everything through this strength-based lens, right? A growth mindset. And it teaches you very simple, tangible ways to live a happier, healthier life and how to deal with stress, right? In a growth mindset way. So, like whatever it is, whatever your challenge is, if a kid says, I'm struggling with my weight right now and I can't lose weight. Well, you know what, just let's get consistent and think about how much better you're going to feel, right? When you make these changes, and then think about who you're going to be able to help. Right. And that's just an example of how everything is about growth mindset with this program. It's really impactful. And I've seen great results. I've been doing it in Loudoun County Public Schools, the kids and the teachers. And it's really about shifting cultural norms and just creating life and a culture based on strength, hope, help, and this growth mindset. So that's kind of the program in a gist. And if anyone who, listens to this, thinks that maybe their community, their coaching staff, their players could use a boost of positive energy and a greater awareness of what mental health is and how to take care of themselves and how to take care of others. I think it's a great program, and you can look at it at sourcesofstrength.org, I believe. So that's Sources of Strength. And then, so for me, it's just, after doing the practices and going and training kids and teachers in it, you just get hooked to having a growth mindset, right? And seeing things through a strength lens. So that, I would say, is how I've integrated it into my coaching, is just really making sure that I am consistently reminding these kids that this is a growth opportunity, and that they're getting stronger through this. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's growth mindset, right? And if you have that, I think you're going in the right direction. So that's kind of a gist of Sources of Strength.
Michael, I appreciate you sharing about Sources of Strength. In the YouTube page, we'll make sure that we put the link to the .org that you mentioned. That way, if anyone is interested, they can go and do their own research. But I am such a firm believer of that abundance and growth mindset. There's enough of whatever we want to go around so everyone can be content. As long as we stay positive, stay energized, we're able to create the life that we want. And that's really the message we're looking to promote through this Lacrosse Leadership Institute. Yeah. And we get all of the details and the energy from different organizations. We all feed upon one another, and we're all here to help society at the end of the day. And Michael, I know you're out on a big mission on life right now. What would you say is your vision for yourself right now, or what are you really focused in on right now?
That's a great question. My vision for myself is to have as big of a positive impact as I possibly can on the world. I want to help others and empower others. And that has been a consistent theme in my brain, probably, I know, since like freshman year in college, when I had a specific experience and I was like, you know what, at the end of the day, I'm meant to help others. And then that's evolved. And even as a kid, lessons that my mom taught me about being kind. So that's been ingrained in me. So I would say that's my first and most important vision. And then the vision for the goal is to be in the U.S. Lacrosse Hall of Fame as a coach. And I mean, like that's the goal there. And I think about it often. And, going back to, just to quickly make a note of it, going back to what I said about becoming an expert on what it takes to be great. And I tell these kids, and I've told them before, I go, I made that goal. I want to be in the Hall of Fame. So I started just listening to Hall of Fame inductee speeches, which is like, that's getting the PhD and what it takes to get in the Hall of Fame, because they're all going to tell you what the most valuable things were to them, the experiences, the lessons learned. And it really comes down, they all say the relationships were the best, right? And that's what mattered most. So that's something to take away there. And then what else I'm currently doing, my vision for myself is just to live out that mission in Northern Virginia right now. I really want to see Northern Virginia lacrosse become one of the thriving hotbeds in the area. And I think it is, but I want it to be regarded as like the best. So that's kind of where I'm at with things.
Michael, I love the vision. I see the positive impact as the core values at the end of the day. And then the goals that you have, the vision is all tangible to that and things that you can accomplish. And I think you're already doing a fantastic job. Just your energy is fantastic. Is there anything that we can do, our community can do, to partner with you and make sure that you can accomplish these goals?
I think what you're doing right now is plenty. And, I'll definitely keep that in mind. I would like, again, to encourage people to check out Sources of Strength. Another organization I'm involved with is the LFG org, Let's Feel Good, started by Nick Stoop, who runs the Beast Bus and the Beast Bands, and Your Custom Wellness Solutions. If anybody's seen that, he's pretty popular in the lacrosse community. But that's another great organization focused on getting people mental health assistance if needed. And so that, look at those people. I would push people to, and I'm going to share this with my players, and hopefully the base grows. And I guess, I see a lot of coaches doing a lot of great things, and I think people are becoming more aware of how important the coach relationship is, the sports, right? I think it's been a big, like at the end of the career thing. And I think now those coaches are really realizing we need to instill these life values and lessons with clarity. So I would just encourage all the other coaches out there to continue to do that. And I really appreciate the opportunity to let me come on. I'm really grateful for it. And I know your base is growing, so maybe it's a smaller podcast right now, but this is my first one for me, and I know it won't be the last. So I really appreciate you having me on.
Hey, my pleasure, Michael. Thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you and all that you stand for. Keep up all the great work, and we look forward to speaking with you soon.
All right, man. That sounds good.